first time you learn what it means to be a man.
Masculinity has become an increasingly constrained and extreme ideology, and if we look at Batman v Superman, we see the articulation of that ideology with particular clarity and intensity, almost to the point of self-parody. Think of the inherent violence of masculinity as represented here. Batman and Superman are defined by their unerring rightness, by the idea that such a thing can exist and can be enacted by an individual, a white, male, physically powerful individual. This is never to be questioned in the narratives of these characters themselves, except in such a way that creates a conflict necessitating a 2-hour and 31-minute paroxysm of violence, the only logical endpoint of such an extreme and uncritical sense of right. An ideology of authoritative rationality and of total emotional muteness does not make stoic, self-possessed people. It makes time bombs. Maybe it's simplistic, but I look back at the good old days where Prince and Michael Jackson and David Bowie and others were visible and permissible in their deviations from uptight masculinity. Is this increasingly clamped down image of masculinity the result of increased visibility of alternative sexualities and gender presentations? Does masculine presentation, even that of non-heterosexual men, feel the need to better and more rigidly articulate its boundaries in the presence of an alternative vision? Or is it just the inevitable result of the advancing parasitization by capitalism of our identities? This masculinity has something to do with an idea of absolute truth, literalism, materialism to me. It's about knowing and confidently assuming the only permissible vision of reality. It's about confidence, rationality. It's terrorism. This seems to me inextricably tied to the form of the slick, big-budget, gritty, and ostensibly realistic Hollywood action movie. This is the form that presents itself in our culture as a mainstream authoritative sanctioning of the ideologies presented within. This is the form, like this masculinity, that presents itself as having an exclusive and absolutely literal claim to truth. If a work is presented with enough confidence, visible expense, and coolness, it provides a powerful argument for the political assumptions underlying its text. Look, too, at how this masculinity deforms the whole world around it, in the same way that every ideology with an exclusive claim to truth does the same. Religious fundamentalism, scientism, capitalism. All things are judged by its criteria because it simply won't admit that any other criteria are conceivable. And the homoerotic sense of it is obvious, I think, so obvious it seems tacky to even mention it, and it should not seem silly. The intense sex atheism is nothing but an anxious disavowal of that powerful sexual context, as atheism is only necessary in the presence of an implicit belief in God. This is gender norm propaganda. That's not all it is, and it doesn't mean to be that, but that is what it is. And look at the one woman allowed into this sanctioned and sanctified place. Wait and see how she will be twisted and deformed under the judgment of Batman and Superman and Zack Snyder and the movie-going public.